Alex Pereira just gained all of his aura back. All the questions about whether this matchup with Ankalaev was just a bad stylistic matchup for him, whether he doesn't have the same hunger that he once had, whether Ankalaev was in his head, all those questions have been answered. But Alex is in a spot now where he can go a couple of ways. But what makes the most sense? The next time Alex fights, he'll be 39 years old, and he doesn't have much time left in the sport. So you have to be careful and make sure that we get the best possible fights we can, because we're not going to get everything. Now let's assume he stays at light heavyweight. What matchup makes the most sense there? And it has to be Carlos Ulberg. I'm not exactly going to be the most excited for this fight, but the options are either Yuri or Carlos Ulberg. The problem with the Yuri matchup is that Alex has already beaten him twice, and I just don't know if a third fight would play out any different. For him to get that third fight against Pereira, it would have to be a situation where Yuri is just absolutely undeniable, and there's nobody else for Alex to fight. It would have to be a Max Holloway versus Volkanovski situation, where even though Max is down 0-2, they have to make that trilogy because both Max and Volk were just beating everybody else. In this case, he does still have Carlos Ulberg to fight. Now, does Alex get up for that fight? Does Carlos Ulberg excite Alex and make him want to make that weight cut again and fight at the age of 39? I don't think so, and that's why he had his call-out planned. So Alex has talked about wanting to move to heavyweight, but here, he only talked about Jon Jones after the fight. It seems that his motivation to go up to heavyweight isn't to get a third belt and be the first fighter in UFC history to be a three-weight division champion. His motivation is to go up and fight Jon Jones in a super fight. He didn't say that he's waiting for the result of Tom Aspinall versus Gane and he wants the winner of that. He called out Jon Jones. And this is just me assuming, but it kind of sounds like a retirement fight for him. He would bulk up a little, probably wouldn't have to bulk up a lot, as I imagine he is probably already around 240 pounds, but I don't think he would go back down. A fight against Jones would be the way he exits the sport, with a win or a loss. He made plenty of money, and this fight would be the biggest payday of his career. Now, is that what I want to happen? Yes. I can understand why some people would be mad at it, and they would rather have him fight the winner of Aspinall versus Gane, which would probably be Aspinall. And then if he were to become the champion, then they wouldn't mind him seeing take on Jon Jones. I do think that the most important thing is that his next fight is at heavyweight. That's the most important thing. Unless you're somebody who's just dying to see Pereira fight Ulberg, then I think we can all agree that heavyweight is the next move. I know some people are going to be upset if Pereira versus Jones gets made, but let's be honest, that's probably the biggest fight that can possibly be made. It's bigger than Jones versus Aspinall, and I think it's bigger than Ilya versus Islam too. Topuria versus Makhachev is probably the best fight that they can make in terms of competitiveness and just the two best current fighters taking on each other, but I do think Pereira versus Jones is bigger. Now, nothing would really be on the line for this fight, but does it matter? Jones is already retired, and Alex is probably on the verge of retirement too. It's not like Jones beating Pereira would ruin anything. He wouldn't have a title anymore, assuming he vacates his light heavyweight title, but it's not like Jones would beat him, get a title, and then just retire. It would be two of the biggest stars in the sport taking on each other in a fight that doesn't need titles or anything on the line to sell. And with the Paramount deal, I think there would be a significant push from them to make the most massive fight possible. I see people saying that the UFC won't work with Jones because of how he handled the last situation. Listen, the only thing that matters is money, and Jones versus Pereira is going to generate a lot of it. They will put their feelings aside as long as it makes everybody richer. Alex gained all of his star power back. Anything that you thought he had lost in the first fight to Ankalaev, he got it back, and I just can't imagine the UFC trotting him back out there to fight Carlos Ulberg. I just can't see it. Also, it seems that he was going to move up to heavyweight with a win or a loss against Ankalaev. If he had lost to Ankalaev, he wouldn't really have anything to do at 205. And now with the win, there's also really nothing for him to do anyways either. What do I think should be done? I think you have to make the Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones fight. Jones was wanting the Pereira fight before, but the circumstances didn't allow it. This time it feels that all the stars are aligning for that fight to happen. Jones doesn't have the heavyweight belt anymore, so you can't say he's holding up the division or he's holding up somebody's career. He's not doing that in this case. Pereira has never fought at heavyweight, and he can just vacate his belt and you can make Yuri versus Ulberg for the title. Pereira doesn't have many fights in the UFC left anyways, and this is the perfect time to make it happen. And I would imagine that Paramount themselves are going to be wanting this fight. According to Dana, some of the Paramount people were there at the event, and they're probably drooling over the possibility of Pereira versus Jones. So for all those people who were begging for Jones to vacate the belt if he wants to do something else, well, he doesn't have the belt. So Tom can fight all the contenders from Gane to Almeida to Volkov. He can fight them all. And if Pereira himself would take the Jones fight over an opportunity to become a 3-weight division champion, then I can't fault him for that either. He's not holding up anybody's career either. So I think this is an easy call. Alex vacates the belt, we get Yuri versus Alberg, Aspinall continues defending his title, and we get one of the biggest fights in terms of star power, John Jones versus Alex Pereira.